The sun is shining, it's a beautiful day, so let's make a video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the Hollyland Lark M1 wireless microphone, which has recently been given to me by my wife. And it is a game changer for me as a content creator. So after a couple of months playing with it, I'm going to let you know my thoughts, because, you know, it's polite and it's content. Grab yourself a coffee, sit back and enjoy. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video here at Benham Media. So my name is Nathan and it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today. And yeah, so we are going to talk about the Hollyland Lark M1 wireless mic. Now, straight off the bat, I'm going to let you guys know that this is not a sponsored video. My wife has in fact bought this for me for Christmas after sort of like months and months and months of me hinting that I want a wireless microphone, and she has in fact bought me one, and it was one of the best presents I got for Christmas. And so I've spent the last couple of months just sort of playing with it, trying to make sure I get the settings correct, and you know, just sort of like seeing how much different it is from me using this in my sort of talking heads type of videos rather than my Rogue mic, which I have on top. Because when it comes to content creation, audio is definitely a very important thing. I think I've mentioned it a few times in my videos that if your video quality is not up to scratch, if you've got good audio, your viewer might seem to sort of like overcome that. But if you've got really bad audio, that's when your viewer is a little bit like, I'm not entirely too sure if I want to carry on watching it. So audio is very, very important. Now, the reason why I wanted a wireless microphone in the first place is because obviously when I talk to camera, sometimes I I point to things like over here, for example, and my head will turn and I will talk in that direction. And it's all like a natural thing. And I know sometimes you can still hear me, but there are obviously options out there to make sure that if I turn my head away from camera, then, you know, I still want you to hear me clearly. Now, the microphone on top of the camera is designed to sort of like point in this direction where I'm talking. So it is always best for me to talk towards the microphone. A wireless mic like this is a great way for me to be able to move around, sort of walk a little bit further away from the camera, because you will notice as I walk away from this particular microphone, obviously I've got to raise my voice a little bit so you can hear me, but the quality of the sound does differ a little bit because it's also bouncing off the walls, because at the end of the day I call this a studio, but it's still a garage, and I'm currently in the process of trying my best to make it better quality for video production. So yeah, so this was bought for me. My wife bought this, it was fantastic, and I was very happy with it. Now, I'm not going to sit there and pretend that I've just taken out the box and oh my god, this is some big unboxing. I've used it, I've been playing with it, I've been practicing with it, so I'm sort of going back to basics a little bit of how I opened it and how it looked to me first off the bat. But then also I just want to let you know that, you know, I've seen it, I know what's inside this. Okay, so straight off the bat, it comes in this wonderful, hard, soft fabric type of case just here. Is that going to focus? It's not going to focus at all, is it? There it is. Just here. And as I unzipped it, this is what came inside. Now, if you look at the box, you will see that there is an option to have a sort of like a portable charging case, which is what I thought I was going to get. Instead, I've just got one microphone and the receiver, which goes on top of the camera, which obviously they talk to each other. Why is this the case? I actually don't know. I've had a look because it's come in this box, and I assumed I was getting the sort of like the portable charging case. And with the other videos that I have watched about this particular microphone, they seem to always have the chargeable porting case. But one thing that I did notice is that every other video or every other person that was testing these or doing a video about it, they had the two microphones. So I'm wondering if it's because we ordered the one mic setup that we don't get the portable charging case, that we've got to buy that separately online, and then we just get the one mic and the sort of receiver just like that. So I don't know, if someone in Hollyland could, like, if they see this, let me know in the comments, that'd be fantastic. But yeah, I don't get the portable charging case. I get the bog standard, plug it into the wall and let it charge as you go. But I'm still not disappointed. Yeah, the charging case would have been awesome, but you know, at the end of the road, it's also quite handy to sort of have this little carry case as well. Also in the box, you get the instructions, and at the back here, you get different leads to use to charge, and also a little dead cat thing that you can put on top of the microphone on a windy day, which is always quite handy. Leads wise, I have two chargeable leads, one for each device that I can sort of plug into the back of the device and then plug into any plug that has a sort of an adapter to it, which is quite often. And we've got two of these little leads, which are the sort of like the jacks. Now, the reason why I think there are two, and they are two different, because this is compatible for both a normal bog standard, what you would call a filming camera, which is what I have, my Canon 80D, but also for a mobile phone, a smartphone. Now, when I used the one with the grey end for my camera, it didn't pick up any sound, not at all. But if I used the one with the two black ends, it worked absolutely fine. So I've taken the assumption that looking at that, this particular one with the grey end is for a mobile phone because it picks up sound differently. But what you'll also notice that they are both jacks, which means if you have an iPhone, this will not work in your iPhone. But if you go onto their website, you will find that there is an adapter that you can plug this into the wireless connector, plug this into the adapter, and then the adapter plugs into the bottom of your iPhone. So if you have an iPhone and you plan to vlog with your iPhone, you need to bear that in mind, that you need to buy an adapter to use this particular device for your vlogging, for your filming. Now, it's quite simple. It is very, very, very easy to use. All you have to do is turn it on, plug it in, and pair it. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Now, these are very simple things to use. So starting with the microphone, which is this little device right here, nice and simple. If you look on the sides, we just simply have a on button, and we also have a mode button, which helps you sort of connect with the top. And then there are also two modes. Now with the modes itself, you have one mode which is for the sort of like a proper digital camera, which is what I'm shooting on here, which means it goes through both channels left and right. With the other mode, it seems to only go through one particular channel, which I think is designed for a smartphone or a sort of like a different type of device. So, you know, keep that in mind and keep your sort of like an eye on your little counter if you can, to see if both sort of like channels are in fact working, which is what you would like to happen if you are definitely using a sort of normal digital camera. And then you've got the charging point at the back as well for you to sort of like charge it up. And then obviously you can see at the bottom you've got the little metal prongs, which are designed obviously when you use the portable charger. And the overall sort of like the receiver side of it is quite simple again. You have the sort of the charging port on the side just there. You have the on button on the back as well, and then you've also got the output, which is what you plug your lead into, which then goes into the camera. And then you've also got the mode button, and you've also got a volume up and down, so you can control how loud the sort of like sound goes into your camera, along with the mode button also, so that way you can sort of make sure they are both talking to each other. Now, on the top, you will notice that there are no, in fact, any screens or anything like that. So it is a very basic, very made with sort of plastic, but very hard plastic. They do feel quite durable. And, you know, the way that you know that they are working is simply with the LED lights on top. So you would turn the device on, hold it down, and then you'll get the little blue lights flashing. And then when you turn on the microphone, hold it down, and then that will flash it. And when the green lights come on, they are now paired and they are now talking to each other. And like I said, you can change the modes by pressing the side buttons to make sure you've got the right overall sort of fashion. So, and how that simply works is that you now clip the microphone onto a piece of clothing, just like that. And obviously you've got a clip on the back of this receiver, but also this fits into your hot shoe on top of the camera. So that way it just sort of slides in and then it just sort of sits there on top, and it minimalizes the type of weight that you have. So so that's it. That's quite the basic sort of look to it, really. So how about we now give it a test? Let's take off the Rogue mic and you can have a listen to see what this sounds like. Let's do it. Oh, right. So there we go. It is now turned on. This is the microphone that I generally use, this one right here. And like I said, like, you've got to speak into the sort of front part of the mic. Now, I am actually seeing on my little gauges, because I have my sort of like left and rights going up, that it is actually going up a lot higher. So I have in fact started to talk a little bit more quietly compared to what I was using with that one. Now that might be because it's a little bit too close to my mouth, but if you look at even there, it is picking up the sound quite well. Now, you will immediately notice a difference in the audio, without a doubt. Like, what I've noticed with this particular sort of microphone is that it is, sorry about that, it's very boxy, it's very sort of condensed. And straight away, when I was editing my first video using this particular microphone, I found it very sort of off-putting. I wasn't too sure if it was sort of like the bounce coming off the walls. It sounded very, very boxy. But I'd like to know your comments in below. Like, what would you prefer? Do you prefer the sound coming from the Rogue mic, or do you prefer the sound coming off this particular sort of wireless microphone? But I also want you to bear in mind that if I didn't have the sound coming from the Rogue mic, would this in fact bother you, or would you have noticed it at all going forward? So let's sort of like have the road test, I guess. Like, this is usually where I do my talking heads. I'm generally a little bit louder than this when I'm talking. I will probably have to adjust the sound in my edit part, or I can simply just sort of go up there and then I can turn the sort of sound down on top of there, which I might do in a second anyway. But this is how I would generally operate. I would sort of like move my head back this way and chat away, and you would lose the audio quality. But with a wireless mic, which is what this whole point is that I can move around, I can get up, I can walk to the other end of the garage, not having to raise my voice, not having to talk. Now, you might not be able to see me in the dark, but hopefully you can still hear me just as well. But I think it needs a better test than that. So let's go out into the street just behind me here and give it a proper road test and see how that all works. That'd be a good one, too. Okay, so we are outside. We are sort of like, this sort of like road that runs down the back of my house a little bit. And yeah, I thought it would be a nice sort of test run to see how much sort of like ambience and background noise. Now, if you notice, I've not got the sort of like dead cat on the top because it's not that windy. So I'm just going to see like if the wind that is about affects it at all. And then I also might put the dead cat on in a little while just to see if it sort of changes up, sort of muffles it a little bit. But yeah, like, it does exactly what it says on the tin. Like, I am quite a distance away from the camera. Now, I think you get about 5 meters with this particular microphone before it starts cutting off, which I think is about this. I think that might be the sort of the stretch with it. So, if you can still see me and you can still hear me, it means it's doing the job that it needs to do. Now, these are obviously perfect for when you're doing interviews, or if you're doing sort of like nice little vlogs and stuff like that. We'll talk a little bit more about what you can use it for and what I might use it for in a second when we go back. But it simply is exactly what you need it. I've got my back to the camera, and hopefully you can still hear me sort of walking around. A lot of people will use this particular type of microphone
like when they are trying to describe something. So let's say I've got a car and I'm sort of like saying, this is the new car that I bought. It's got 4 wheels, it's blue, it's got an engine inside it as well. It's a fantastic sort of like car type shape. It is absolutely beautiful. You know, the wheels turn when you drive. These little bits on the front, they light up so you can see in the dark. You know, as you can probably tell, I'm not a car guy, you know. But yeah, it's got 4 bits that you sort of open and it leaves a hole so you can get in to the vehicle. They're called doors. Yeah, if you want to know if the car is decent, you look around it, you look at your mate and you go, yeah, and then you kick the tyre and you go, stuff it, I'll take it. But yeah, that's what this is for. You know, it's a wireless mic. You know, I don't know if it will be something that I would use going out and about because I don't know. I'm still sort of like playing around with it myself. But it is a little bit colder out here than it is inside the studio. So let's sort of head back in there and do it. One thing I am sort of noticing a little bit with it as well is that I don't need to be as loud as what I usually am when it comes to me sort of like shooting a particular video. Keeping an eye on my sort of like sound levels. Like even at this, now I feel that I'm being really, really, really quiet and now I'm whispering, but my sound levels look pretty good. I usually feel when I've got the mic on top that I've got to be a little bit louder, a little bit more shouty. But yeah, so let's jump back into the studio, shall we, and sort of wrap this up. Right, one thing I want to try out that I'm not sure that this is going to make it into the video because it might not even work is that I'm going to go outside and there and keep the camera here to see if you can actually hear me through the window. So I'm just going to place the camera here a little bit. There we go. Just sort out the exposure. There we are. And yeah, I'm just going to sort of step outside and see if you can still hear me. So I'm going to close the door. That way, you know, there's no sort of like cheating that the fact that the sort of thing will go around. But yeah, it looks, I can see it through the window that you can still sort of pick up, which is, I think it's quite interesting. You know, in a day like you might be doing like a show or a scene or anything like that. And you want to do like a nice little classy little shot that's through a window type thing. But yeah, I mean, like this is a brick wall. The windows aren't very thick. They're not like sort of double glazing. So, you know, let's not kid ourselves that this is, you know, like a proper scientific test. But do you know what? It'll be quite interesting to actually hear this back when I put it on my laptop to see what it sounds like. But yeah, so, you know, I'm walking around my garden. It's quite a nice garden, a bit breezy, and there we go. It's working. So let's have a sort of finish up this sort of chat about what this microphone is, what you can use it for, and you know the pros and cons of having a wireless microphone. Right, so there we go. So the pros and cons about having a wireless microphone. For me, there aren't many cons, really. Like if it does improve your audio, it does make life easier for a content creator, especially one like me who's a little bit sporadic. Like I'm not necessarily sort of just sat talking to camera, having a microphone slightly close to me. This thing, I like to move around. I like to sort of like, you know, I think Phoenix has once told me if I didn't have hands, I probably wouldn't be able to talk because I'm constantly moving, I'm constantly doing these type of things. Now, one thing I will sort of say about it is that, yeah, I noticed a difference in the sound quality when I started editing it before. Now, I don't know if it's because it is a sort of like direct mic. I don't know if it's because it's underneath my chin. I don't know. I don't know if I've got the settings wrong. Even in this segment that I'm talking now, I'm not going to know if there's any difference until I start listening to it on my laptop. But then again, I usually listen to it via headphones or via the speakers that come out my laptop. So that will affect the sound slightly. But when I heard it on my television, it sounded a lot better. So I think these are things you've got to think about. Like the sound is different. It's for me, it's more compact, a little bit more condensed, rather than if you use these sort of like the bog standard vlogging type mics that are out there. Now, for me, how it would definitely be a better microphone is for when I'm going to the sort of like the conventions that I've started to go to. I've got another one coming up very shortly. Now, I would usually use my sort of like little camera, so it's a little bit less sort of obvious that I'm shooting, but the Mark II, well, the G7X Mark II doesn't have a mic jack for me to plug it in, so I do have to use the top mic. I do want to upgrade this at some point, so I won't be able to use this particular microphone for it. But when I'm out in these type of conventions, which I'm going to sort of test run in a couple of weeks when I go to the sort of, I think it's the Society of Photographers, to sort of meet up with a few friends, see if I can make a few more contacts, I will be shooting on the Canon using this particular microphone. That way I'm not getting so much ambient noise and it's just me talking, and it should be a lot more clearer. So that is a benefit on my behalf. Now, with the setup with these particular microphones, they were so easy. I had to do a little bit of fiddle within the camera to make sure it's picking up the right type of sound, but for them to talk to each other, it was seamless. I turned them on and they started to communicate. There was no sort of like having to set them up or introduce them to each other and say, hi, this is the receiver, this is the mic, talk. Literally turned them on and they started working. Did get a little bit confused when I plugged the wrong lead in and it wasn't picking up any sound. But again, I think that is because it is designed to work for a smartphone, not a digital camera. And then obviously with the modes, when I couldn't quite figure out why it was only coming through one sound channel until I changed the mode, and then all of a sudden it was coming through two. So it just took a little bit of reading, a little bit of watching some videos like this one to sort of get your sort of head around the whole idea of it. But these are ideal. These are ideal for content creators, for somebody who is doing a sort of, I'm watching some house tour videos at the moment, people walking around the houses sort of saying, look how lovely it is. And they're using these type of microphones because they can turn and go, look how wonderful the windows are with the sort of conservatory out back. It is absolutely beautiful. And it works because it means you don't always need to be looking at camera. It is great for when you're doing an interview situation. If you buy the dual microphones, I would assume that they would talk to each other again. So you are interviewing somebody, you're probably using a multiple camera sort of setup, but you can both work on the same channels and it's picking up the same type of sound and it should be at the same level. And it's like sort of like pack it in your bag and off you go. Power wise, with one charge, it is said that these type of microphones, if you plug it into the wall like I would have to do, can last up to 8 hours before you charge them. But if you've also got the sort of portable charger device, it gives you an extra 8 hours. So with the charger, 8 hours, and with the microphone and this sort of receiver itself, you can get up to 16 hours of consistent use before you need to start recharging it again, which is great. I've charged this on Boxing Day and I've probably used it for videos 4 times, not including this one. And I've not had to charge them again once, and they seem to be working absolutely fine. And you know, even though these videos are about 10, 15, 20 minutes long, obviously for me to sort of shoot them, have them, the mistakes that I make, because I do make a lot of mistakes with my wording, and you know, especially in the cold weather, my teeth and my lips and my tongue get a bit funky. So yeah, I've probably used the best part of 4 or 5 hours worth of walking around here, because I don't always turn them off when I'm moving the camera around as well. So they still seem to be working quite well after 4 hours of constantly using them. But yeah, I like them. I'm a fan. I will definitely be using them for different situations. When I'm probably out and about, I probably won't be using them, like when I'm going to my meets and stuff like that, because quite clearly I probably might need the microphone on top so I can pick up other people's voices, because I think that's the next stage. If I'm out and about and I'm talking to mates on a photo meet, will this microphone pick up their voice so that way it's more compact and doesn't look like that I'm vlogging? Or will I still need the Rogue mic or my little Deity mic to sort of pick up these sort of like the surround sound and people talking to me? But yeah, that's the next test, I guess. I might give that a run for its money when I'm out and about next time. But guys, that's it. That's this video done and dusted. That last bit lasted about 6 minutes. See if I can trim that down in the edit. But I do highly recommend having a look online. I will leave a link to their website in the description below. Have a look, and let me know if you are a fan of this type of device. But until next time, enjoy the rest of your week, rest of your month, the rest of your year, depending on when you're watching this video. If you liked this video, if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you like what you see, give it a thumbs up, because it does help the channel itself. So yeah, sort of become part of the fun. And I will see you in the next video. All the best, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.